Hey guys, in this video we're going to dig into slipper clutches. This is Slipper Clutch 101, and this video is going to be geared toward the understanding of what the slipper clutch is and how to tune it up for each environment that you're going to run in. Now each one you're going to have to set for yourself what works for you, because everyone's driver's style is different. But if you understand the tool itself, what the slipper clutch is and what it's designed to do and how to make the best use of it, it should help you control your car a lot better. There's many different types, from carpet to dirt to pavement. There's slipper clutches in a lot of these different vehicles, and understanding that can help a lot. Check this out. Okay, so first off, there are a lot of different slipper clutches out there, and they don't all qualify as a slipper clutch. Some of them are differentials, but they work in much the same way. So let's go back in the past a little bit, and let's start off with one of our old carpet cars. Now we've taken the guts out of this one, but the important bit for this is still here, and this is the rear axle. Now the bearings are a little tough in this because this is an old system, but at the same time it has a ball bearing diff right here, and as you roll this, the ball's in there between the plates, and I'll give you an explode of this, but the ball bearings between the plates roll. Okay, so that allows each wheel to turn each direction. Differential. But if you look in the end here, there is a nut and another set of bearings in there which allows this wheel to turn independently of this one. Okay, now the thing about that is it takes a certain amount of pressure to hold those ball bearings so they don't slip. Now the thing about that is if you loosen these ball bearings up, just loosen this screw up a little bit, and you can do it by hand. Now you can turn this. Now I'm holding the wheels, but I can turn the gear. Okay, so it slips. Now you've got hardened steel against hardened steel with the rings that are in here and the ball bearings, but at the same time, this slippage is key. So what it is you back this off until it slips real easy. Then when you put the car on the ground and you hit the throttle, so this has got traction, you hit the throttle, this spins, the gear spins, the motor spins the gear, but it doesn't spin the tires. You slowly tighten this up until you get some pull. Now, when you hold the body back, so let's say the body's on here and you hold the body, this is just sitting on the ground. You pull the trigger and it spins the disc, but it doesn't spin the tires. There's not enough pull. It's too loose. Okay, so you tighten it up a little bit more until it pulls against your finger and it doesn't spin the tires. That'll give you as much traction as you can get for the environment. Now, if you've got a high traction situation, you can tighten that up even more. But if you tighten it up until it spins the tires as soon as you touch the throttle, it's too much and you'll lose control in the corners. So it's a fine balance of how much do you want this to slip to maintain the traction of where you're running. And that's just this style. This is carpet. When you're racing on concrete, it's way slicker, so you need to loosen this up a lot to maintain your traction. If you're not using a traction compound, that can win you the race. If you're working in carpet and you treat your tires, you can tighten it up quite a bit, and that'll give you that whole shot you're looking for, and it'll give you a lot of speed down the back stretch. But if traction's a thing, that's how you maintain control. And while we're talking about stuff from the past, this is a Losi Triple XT, and we used to race these as well. And this has a dedicated slipper clutch in it, and it's located on the back here. And the beautiful part of this is this doesn't have ball bearings in the slip area. It has actual pads, and of course we'll pull this apart and show you what that's at too, and that'll be right up here. But there are two discs that rub against the pads. Same thing, if you back this off, this will spin without turning the tires, and you can tune this up, tighten it a little bit, get a little slippage, tighten it a little bit more, get a little more pull. Same difference applies. If you're on a slippery surface, say you're running in kind of powdery dirt or something that doesn't have a lot of traction, a real dry time of year and a hard pan surface, that can do it if you don't have the best tires for that situation. In that situation, you'll back this nut off a little bit, lower the traction to the tires. In other words, it won't put so much power to the tires, but you'll still hit the same top speed because the motor and the gearing will still get you there. But that right off the bat, it won't put too much torque to this to cause the tires to break loose. So your car will go and take off, as opposed to just frying the tires and getting all squirrely. The slipper clutch here can win you races if you know how to set it up. Set it up so that the tires barely turn under power when you're taking off. So hold it back by the wing or what have you. Don't hold up or down, just hold it there so it can't move. Give it some throttle and see how much pull the car has against your fingers until it spins the tires. Find the most pull you can get and then run it from there, and then tune it back and forth a little bit as you go. That makes a giant difference. And this is, like I say, there's no ball bearings in this one. This is pads designed for this. So that's the way they used to do it. Let's have a look at what they're doing today. All right, first off, let's take a look at the Arma slipper clutches. And we're going to use these as the example because there are so many manufacturers and they're all basically laid out the same way. However, there are differences between them. This one here, this is the standard slipper clutch for the Mega and the Boost series, and there'll be an Explode right here for this one. But this has one slipper in it, and it's right here, and the adjustability part of it is this red nut here, so you can tighten it and this won't slip as much for the drive system that connects to it, and you can just tune this from the exterior with a little wrench and get this set where you want to. This will handle brushed systems just fine, but it doesn't handle 3S very well. So this will overheat and melt down. We've lost a couple of these. So when you upgrade your Boost or your Megas, you're gonna need to change this, and that's where you get into the different transfer case. And we'll just touch that lightly. This is the case for the Mega and the Boost series, and this is plastic. It doesn't dissipate the heat very well, and it does move a little bit when it gets really hot. The 3S stuff has the aluminum plate on there, and the aluminum plate makes all the difference. That's what holds all this other stuff together. Now the thing is, when you get to the 3S stuff, now we're talking 3 plates, way more metal in there. Look at the aluminum there. The aluminum there, everything's really good. This is the drive hub that runs the center shaft. When you take that off, that allows you access to the adjustment nut here. Now, so the other one had the red nut that you worked from the outside. This one you have to tune from the inside. And for these, it takes a 2mm wrench to run, but this allows you to tune on the inside here, and we'll show you an Explode of this one. But this one has the same deal where there's parts inside, there's the slipper discs in here, and all that cool stuff, and that's how this goes together. So there's a long screw that goes through here and holds this together, and you tune by tightening or loosening this screw to add pressure to these plates. That's the basic layout of these things. Now, what we have here is the same basic idea. You still want to tune them for the conditions. So if you loosen the slipper, that's going to cause potentially more heat in the system because friction causes heat. So if you got this set really loose and you're really putting a lot of extra spin on the gear and very little to the drivetrain, these plates are going to heat up. And when they start to heat up, things warp a little bit. This is just aluminum on the outside. It does have a steel ring inside between 2 of the plates, but this is just aluminum. So overspinning this is not a good idea. It'll add heat to the plastic part of the ring there, and you can cause problems doing that. So you got to kind of meter how much slip you put in there. You want a little slip, but you don't want to sit and just fry this thing either. However, we have had a lot better luck with the metal spur gear on these, and HR makes a pretty cool one for this. That works pretty good for dissipating the heat, and it doesn't matter how warm it gets, it doesn't seem to affect the teeth or anything. So that's usually, if you're going to slip a lot, that's going to be helpful. At the same time, this is how you control the power to the ground. The motor's going to create the same power all the time. Your gearing's going to give you more torque or more high speed, one of the two. There is a balance between those. But this is what gets the power to the ground, guys. So if you're out of control, spinning the tires all the time, take some pressure off this and let it slip a little bit to maintain that traction. That's what this is for. All right, but before we call it good, let's talk about one more thing, and that is runtime. Now, these motors are designed to take a certain amount of current, and they do so. But the pinion size will dictate how much runtime you get because of the amp draw on the battery. Now, the other side of that is if you put your slipper in here and you just set it in place, and this is locked down, so now your slipper is locked down, so it grabs really hard with the tires and you're on a fairly good tractionable surface, it's going to pull a lot of amps through the motor. It's going to pull a lot of amps when you take off. And if you play with the trigger a lot, zip, 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 it's going to put huge amp draw from this against the motor, which is going to shorten your battery life. Not the life of the battery, but the run time, because it'll pull a lot more amps all at once over and over. Now the thing is, if you loosen this up, this will slip some, allowing the motor to spin up easier, and you'll have a better run time as far as that goes. It's not a giant difference, but it does matter. If you're out on the pavement and you've got one of these set up for asphalt and you need every bit of runtime you can get, allowing the slipper to do its job. The thing is, guys, when this pulls and this is locked down, it's going to spike. It's going to pull as many amps as possible. Now, the thing is, when this slips, the motor doesn't have to grunt as hard. It doesn't pull quite as many amps. It doesn't pull it for as long because this will spin up and then the car will catch up to the motor's action going through the slipper. So you can get better run time if you simply loosen this some. There is a balance to be stricken here, guys. So you have to strike a balance between the amount of power you need to the ground and your run time. This does play a role. It's not huge, but it does count. So there you go, guys. Slipper clutch 101. And this was a basic introduction into the slipper clutch and how to adjust it for the application. Now you can take what you've learned and figure out how to make your car work as good as possible for your application. The thing is, a lot of people don't want to share how to do this because it gives you the edge. When you're out in a track situation, you're racing with a friend and they go around the corner right every time and something seems a little goofy, but you spin all the time, look into the slipper clutch because that can definitely help some. If you overslip it, you won't have the power you need. But if you tighten it too much, you'll get wild in the corners. It really is a fine balance for the situation. Tires, traction of the track itself, all this plays a role, but the slipper clutch is something that shouldn't be overlooked. So if you haven't already, don't forget to bash that like button and help our content spread. You know, this has been one that we've been thinking about for a while. The slipper clutch is not always well understood within the community. The racers get a pretty good grip on it right away, but new people do have trouble understanding what it is. And when you get that fine balance set to where it controls good and you get the speed you want, it makes everything that much more fun. If you guys have anything you want to add to this video, please feel free to leave it in the comments down below and help others along the way. Hey guys, for AJ Jam Studios, I'm AJ saying, keep bashing, guys.